Okay, how Mormonism wounds self-esteem and what we can do about it. Before I get into what self-esteem is, it's just to create a common foundation of knowledge. I want to talk about what we are fundamentally, and that is awareness. When you were born, metaphorically speaking, this was you. You had no concept of self. You had no conscious thought. You had no external information from your physical environment. Right from the time that you were born, and well, they know, of course, for in utero, of course, a fetus, a developing fetus is picking up the physical sensations that is coming through the mother. But in psychological terms, this is you. You are a blank slate. And psychologists, psychiatrists know that for about the first 6 months of life, children don't have, infants don't have, a concept of self. So when a 1-month-old baby is looking up into mommy or daddy's face, they are not psychologically differentiating between them and that person that they are looking at. They are psychologically fused with everything and everyone around them. And through this very organic evolutionary process, during approximately the first 6 months of our lives, as we were being fed and pooping and interacting with family members and experiencing our physical environment, we started to develop very psychologically at a very rudimentary level. But what are we fundamentally? We are a unit of awareness that exists in a physical interface system, our body. Awareness is not mind. Awareness is more fundamental than mind. It is more primordial than mind. Because when you think a thought, something is doing the thinking. You are aware of your thoughts. You're aware of physical sensations, your emotions, needs, wants, impulses, intuition, instincts, your own behavior. And so as you go through your life, you are engaged in the act of being aware on multiple levels, if you will. So, how that relates to self-esteem is, as we were going through our infancy and into our early childhood, people started writing on us, so to speak. Whatever family situation we were born into, people were sending us messages, our parents or parent or whoever raised us, whoever had the primary responsibility to take care of us, whoever interacted with us. There were messages, dozens, hundreds of messages every day that we were receiving because we are fundamentally a unit of awareness. So the verbal and non-verbal, and we just learned to cope as best we could in whatever environment we were raised in. So if that was with a standard nuclear family with happy, emotionally well-adjusted parents, and all of our physical needs were taken care of, and we had fun siblings to play with, and it was a great environment, then we probably had a happy childhood. And if we experienced something else, mistreatment or abuse, neglect to any degree, then we were aware of that. And we were taking that in second by second, minute by minute. And when you think of, for example, when NASA sends these probes out into outer space, they have tens of thousands of lines of code that they have to write so that this probe knows what to do at certain points in its trek as it's moving through the solar system and beyond. And that's what happened to us on this second-by-second basis. These lines of code were being written into our psyche, essentially. And those lines of code were influenced, were the function of how people were treating us. And of course the nonverbal communication. So if we did something and mother's face went a certain way, then we quickly learned that if there was a withdrawal of love or approval, if we behaved in that way, then we better not behave that way anymore, or at least not around mother. Because we were there to survive. The survival instinct in children is the most powerful, because they are completely dependent on their parents, whoever takes care of them, for their physical survival. And so they will do virtually whatever is necessary to survive, because we entered life, of course, completely dependent on someone else taking care of us. And so yeah, we went through childhood learning to cope as best as we could. There are eight stages of psychological development. I'm not going to get into them. Wikipedia has actually got a very good summary of those, the different ages and how we needed to develop at those different stages. But really, the point of being a child and moving through your adolescent years is to move from a place of being 100% dependent to being independent, to learning enough skills to take care of your physical survival, to provide for yourself. And what's the objective of going through that approximately 18-year process? It's to be able to go out into the adult world and function as an independent adult. And psychologists, psychiatrists will talk about individuation. That's the process of making yourself an individual, because you started out psychologically fused with absolutely no concept of yourself as a self. And ideally, by the time you're approximately 18 years of age, you have a pretty solid sense of yourself, your personality, your interests, what you want to do with your life, and the fact that, you know, there are connections with your emotional connections with your family of origin, but that process of becoming a teenager, of course, and going through your adolescent years is about, you know, individuating yourself from your parents. And so when you see the kids dressed in their gothic black outfits, or you know, the tattoos, the piercings, whatever, and parents are horrified, they can be rest assured that what's going on psychologically is your kids are just individuating. So they listen to music that's absolute garbage, which of course is the same comment that your parents said to you. But it's just the process of individuation that's going on. That's in ideal circumstances. To increase in awareness, even if it, second point there. To become more aware is to expand the fundamental characteristic of ourself. And I'll tie this in with Mormonism in just a couple of slides. To increase in awareness, even if doing so involves the collapse of a cherished belief system, is ultimately a choice. And I want you to keep that in mind for the discussion a little later on. We can choose to become more aware or not. Either way, there are consequences. So when we find ourselves perhaps in a situation where suddenly we're confronted with a person, maybe someone who's physically large and a big booming voice, and in a split second we feel like we're 5 years old again, and we can feel the shakes in our legs. At that moment, we can either choose to be aware of how we're feeling, what's coming up for us, or we can quickly stomp down that awareness. So on a second-by-second basis, until the moment that we die, we can either choose to increase in awareness or not. All healing and personal growth is rooted in increased awareness. All of it. And that's not just psychological healing, that's physical healing as well too. Something's going wrong with your body. You feel that something's just not quite right. So off to the doctor you go.